The rise of small villains, killing the heavens, seeking only profit, and the presence of all gods. How can the sun of destiny rise from the end of life and reach the pinnacle of life? And the villain's lifelong hardships and planning are destined to be trampled on and used as stepping stones. Is there any kind of divine tranquility in the imperial realm? Since Gu Xinghun has become the villain, I will not be able to cover my eyes on this day. I will not be able to bury my heart on this earth anymore. I want all sentient beings to understand my intentions, and I want all the sons of the heavens to disappear into thin air. Wait, why is there still a pantheon in my body? Surprisingly, 10,000 invincible powerhouses from previous lifetimes were sealed inside. The first strong person's name is Zhang. 5. Lang. Let's see how Gu Xinghun awakens the gods in the pantheon and fights to the peak of the immortal path. Chapter 1. With my destiny, step on heaven's destiny. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Roaming. Amidst thunder and lightning, heavy rain poured down. Accompanied by the pattering sound of rain, a mournful cry rang out from the circular dojo of Changxian sect. Ah! A young man was kicked to the ground, howling in pain. A young man approaching from not far away, his wine-red robe echoing in the wind and rain, dancing gracefully. Pop! The young man came up to the young man and slammed his foot on his face, saying in a sinister tone, "Xiao, you have a lot of guts. Dare to teach me how to do things, do you know how to write, die, dot." Just kicked away and now kicked in the head again, young Xiao is extremely angry. But just as he was about to speak, he found that his cheeks were being stepped on between his teeth, and he could only rely on his foot strength to feel confused and unable to speak clearly. "My friend Wu was severely injured by you. Wu advised me, should I make up for it? Please square your feet. Don't make a single mistake. Yo. It's all like this, speaking one thing at a time. Interesting, it's really interesting." The young man suddenly wanted to laugh, so he laughed and said, "Jia jia jia." The rainstorm became more and more fierce in the laughter, and constantly slipped from the youth's robes, beating Xiaohua's face like a waterfall. Seeing the other party's self-deprecating sneer, Xiaohua struggled with unbearable humiliation and said, "Let go." Gu Xinghun. Young Gu Xinghun remained unmoved. "Crazy, you're simply insane. Aren't you afraid of others laughing at you? Open your eyes and see how many people nearby are laughing at you." After struggling to no avail, Xiaohua attempted to use the views of his disciples to dissolve the humiliation of Gu Xinghun. "Oh." Gu Xinghun sneered and trembled with a smile, then looked around at the new and old disciples and raised his hand, saying, "Tell me, who are you laughing at?" In an instant, a wave of mockery echoed throughout the entire dojo. "Waste Xiaohua, we're laughing at you. It is your supreme honor to be stepped on by senior brother Gu Xinghun. That's it. Senior brother, it's just a lesson for a farmer who doesn't understand etiquette. How dare this useless person accuse senior brother? It's really outrageous." After finishing speaking, the person seemed to notice something and jumped up and cursed, "Oh my! How dare you, useless Xiaohua, give me a white eye. Get out of the secular world and pick some feces." Star Soul Senior Brother, the pinnacle of the outer gate, with vast divine powers and boundless magical power. The sound is like a tide, suppressing the mind. Xiaohua wiped away the scale from the corners of his eyes and looked at everything incredulously. The reactions of the disciples in front of him have exceeded his expectations. I didn't expect Gu Xinghun's power to be so high among the disciples of the outer sect. Black can be washed into white. At the same time, Gu Xinghun did not enjoy the praise of the audience's junior brothers as usual, but instead fell into contemplation. Because he noticed something unusual with his golden finger. That's right, Gu Xinghun is a traveler. Since his death on Blue Star, his soul has traveled to the belly of a woman in this world, becoming a fetus. In the 14th year, his hostile family became increasingly powerful, and more descendants were admitted to the cultivation sect. At that time, the Gu family had a plan. I want to spend a lot of money to send the most talented offspring to Changxian sect. I hope he can achieve success in his studies and become the dark side of the family's future rise. Anzi is Gu Xinghun. Because he is the only one in the entire clan who has a spiritual root, even though he is a lower-level spiritual root. As for the golden finger, it was unexpectedly discovered in Gu Xinghun's mind when he reached the level of refining qi after joining the Changxian sect. It was sealed with the divine souls of 10,000 invincible and powerful individuals from previous lives. He called it the Pantheon. And the first strong person's name is Zhang. 5. Lang. The conditions for awakening Zhang Wulang's combat power are very strict. According to the key words displayed by the 10,000 divine figures, they are heavenly destiny villains, ruthless and ruthless, willing to resort to any means to achieve their goals. You should know that this world is full of demons, and the immortal family is ruthless. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a world of slaughter and injustice. Today, which city was slaughtered, and tomorrow which country will be sacrificed, it's just a common occurrence. Everyone is uncertain day and night. In order to survive better, or for the sake of his family, Gu Xinghun had to completely release himself and be a big villain with peace of mind. He wants to do whatever he wants, and activate Zhang Wulang as he wants. But over the past decade, he has bullied countless junior brothers, played tricks on countless junior sisters, and only then illuminated 6% of Zhang Wulang's divine character. At this moment, Wanshenge is so active, isn't it that bullying Xiao can accelerate the illumination of Zhang Wulang? Excited, Gu Xinghun's strength under his feet couldn't help but increase a bit. Ah, it hurts. Let go, let go. Gu Xinghun, you are simply in vain as the 10th generation outer disciple senior brother. Xiao roared and slapped the puddles on the ground with his hands, like a fish fluttering on a chopping board. At this moment, the farmer who was saved by Xiao in the distance could no longer watch. He struggled to prop himself up and coughed heavily, saying, "Senior brother, please spare Xiao. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have seen you disrespectful. If you want to hit me, just keep hitting me." On the way to worship the sect, the most helpless and difficult time was when Xiao helped him. Now that Xiao has been bullied again to help him, how can he bear it? Hee hee, hee hee, hee hee. Gu Xinghun smiled gloomily. He really didn't expect this farmer to be half dead and even dare to speak hard. It's like seeking your own death. Interject, right. Gu Xinghun suddenly lifted his right hand and an invisible force directly sucked the farmer under him, then kicked him away and said, "Did I ask you to interrupt?" Bang! The farmer was thrown on the ground like a float, raising slanted splashes of water. At this moment, a young girl named Mu Chang began to scream. Ah! Senior brother Gu killed me. His voice broke through the sky, clearly a brainless fan. Senior sister, don't you think senior brother is too cruel like this? The newcomer asked with lingering fear. What do you know? Senior brother also bullied us back then, but he never killed anyone. He did this to stimulate the fighting spirit within the new human body. Ah! Is that so? That's for sure. Many junior brothers and sisters have been inspired by their senior brothers' training, and their cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. Senior brother is so handsome. This domineering and ruthless demeanor will definitely break through the 6th level of qi refining and enter the inner gate in the future. Who do you look down on? Senior brother, this invincible talent is not to mention the inner sect. There is hope for you to join the biography peak in the future. While everyone was praising him, Xiao had already stopped his thumping movements. He looked at his friend's miserable situation with teary eyes, and the worshipful eyes of his senior sisters towards Gu Xinghun seemed to overflow, feeling extremely sad in his heart. He was the first genius in the family back then. At the age of only 19, one has already reached the 8th level of qi refining, and it is not an exaggeration to be called a genius youth. But later on, for some reason, my cultivation disappeared inexplicably. After searching for famous doctors in his family without success, he decided to join the Changxian sect, start from scratch, and create brilliance again. But to my surprise, as soon as I arrived at the Changxian sect and had not even started the apprenticeship ceremony, I and my friends were beaten up by Gu Xinghun one after another, which was a complete loss of face. The belief in returning to the peak in my heart was almost shattered. Just as Xiao was in despair, a seductive female voice as sweet as a warbler came from the crowd. "Senior brother, why compete with two useless people?" A seductive and graceful woman in blue, with a skin as cold as snow, walked out of the crowd holding an umbrella. Her steps are as graceful as a startled swan and as graceful as a wandering dragon. The walking posture is even more graceful and charming, like a light cloud covering the moon, floating like a flowing wind returning to snow, making people feel unhappy at a glance. Dada. The rainstorm kept splashing and sliding from her oil paper umbrella, just like silver beads, adding a hazy beauty to it. In the blink of an eye, the woman in green had already arrived by Gu Xinghun's side. At first, Xiao thought there was a fairy coming to save him. But what I didn't expect was that the fairy just gave him a light glance, then lifted her jade foot and kicked him away with one kick. Pain. Unbreakable pain. Not only does it hurt the body, but it also hurts the heart. Xiao rolled on the ground a few times, lifted his face covered in shoe prints, and saw the fairy turn around and support the umbrella over Gu Xinghun's head. He said coquettishly, "Senior brother, don't dirty your feet." Puff. Xiao Huameng spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted to death. Ha, ha. Gu Xinghun glanced at Xiao, who had fainted in the rain. With a wild laugh, he hugged Meng Qingyuan beside him and left gracefully. The group of followers behind also closely followed. This departure was not because he wanted to spare Xiao, but because he couldn't sense the reaction of Zhang Wulang in the 10,000 divine figures just now. He guessed blindly, perhaps this kind of suppression had reached its peak and could no longer provide energy. As for killing Xiao in public, that is absolutely unacceptable. The sect has regulations that prohibit the slaughter of new people. 10 Peaks Peak. Crunching, Gu Xinghun pushed open the door, and the rain just stopped. He waved his hand and asked the male and female attendants behind to retreat, then entered the mansion. What catches the eye is a pavilion surrounded by mountains and waters. Walking on the corridor of the pavilion, the fragrant breath of precious flowers and plants hits one's face, making one feel relaxed and happy. Gu Xinghun sat on the golden jade stone of the pavilion, holding Dream Green Kite in his arms, and said with a smile, "I haven't seen you for a few days, but junior sister has become even more beautiful and charming." The beauty of Dream Green Kite is a kind of enchanting beauty. When Gu Xinghun was struggling at the Zawu Peak, she was immediately captivated by her jade legs and feet, and even thought she had seen the Lady of Gua in the anime. It was so beautiful that there was nothing on earth or in heaven. At that time, he spent countless efforts to catch this woman. As for the taste, like the one on the blue star, the woman in the cultivation world is like run. Poor-mouthed Meng Qingyuan smiled and lifted her soft and delicate hands, lightly tapping Gu Xinghun's forehead. Then, she picked up a fruit from the pavilion table and stuffed it into his mouth, coquettishly saying, "Since we haven't seen each other for a few days, why not come and find them?" Just as Gu Xinghun was about to speak up and explain, her lips were pointed by Meng Qingyuan's jade finger. She said first, "Don't say that just to teach those newcomers a lesson, why don't you leave this kind of thing to Mo Dahu under your command?" This jealousy filled the air, and all the birds in the sky heard it. Gu Xinghun pulled her body closer, and his right hand slowly caressed her from the jade back, forcefully lowering her noble head. Kissed it. For a long time as his lips parted, he smiled and said, why do you even eat a man's jealousy? That newcomer is just useful to me. What's the use of it? Do you want junior sister to kill him for you? A hint of killing intent flashed in Meng Qingyuan's beautiful eyes. Since she was chased by Gu Xinghun, the two of them have been working hand in hand, climbing step by step from the miscellaneous disciples to the current high level of the outer gate, experiencing countless lives and deaths together. It is not an exaggeration to say that they rely on each other for their own lives. As long as it is something beneficial to Gu Xinghun, she will not care about any consequences. Good or bad, I really like it. But this Xiao is not easy. According to Wanshenge's reaction, it is highly likely to be the son of fate. Thinking of this, Gu Xinghun smelled Meng Qingyuan's beautiful hair and shook his head, saying, "Do you still remember the son of fate that I once told you?" As the person who trusts each other the most, he naturally shared some cultivation secrets with Meng Qingyuan that the indigenous people did not know. Of course, the pantheon and time travel are the biggest secrets that even the closest person has not revealed. The son of destiny. Meng Qingyuan's beautiful eyes were full of suspicion, and her mind began to recall what her senior brother had said about the son of destiny. The decline of cultivation, the divorce of the saint, the destruction of the family, and a series of hardships not only do not break their moral heart, but also make them soar and rise rapidly all the way. What's even more outrageous is that there are often incredibly powerful dog-blooded family backgrounds hidden. But what does this have to do with a newcomer? Is it? She exclaimed in surprise, "Senior brother, did you investigate the background of that Xiao and find out that he may have been the son of fate before taking action?" Chapter 2. Collection Ceremony. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This information makes Meng Qingyuan very worried. Because senior brother once said that the son of destiny is high and naturally protected by heaven. Opportunities and creations never stop, and as long as he does not die young, he will surely reach the peak of the immortal path. If Xiao is truly the son of fate, it means that senior brother has offended the future super strong. Not bad, Xiao is very likely the son of fate. Gu Xinghun said, stood up with his hands down, gazing at the surging clouds on the mountaintop. His eyebrows widened. Why is the son of destiny so high? We ordinary people will have to work tirelessly on a path of exhaustion. He turned around and looked at Meng Qingyuan sitting alone on the jade stone, saying, "You and I have gone through 10 years of hardship and countless life and death trials before we reached the 5th level of qi refining. If the son of destiny can surpass us in one day, will the heavenly way be righteous?" Boom. At this moment, the dazzling sun in the sky was enveloped by surging black clouds, as if cheering for Gu Xinghun. Looking at the energetic senior brother in front of her, Meng Qingyuan's beautiful eyes showed admiration. She stood up and came to Gu Xinghun's side, holding his hand and affectionately saying, "Senior brother, are you trying to seize the gift of fate?" Gu Xinghun nodded and said, "Not bad. Heaven and earth are not benevolent, so go against the sky. Tomorrow, I will lead the team in the secret realm of Datong. At that time, I will test Xiao. If he is truly the son of fate, then we will seek the gift of fate. If he is not, then death is death." As a traveler, Gu Xinghun is very unwilling. He is not willing to be so mediocre and idle in the cultivation world for a lifetime. Since the goal of activating Zhang Wulang has already emerged, whether it is to become stronger and protect himself, for the sake of the family, or for the heart that hates heaven and injustice, he must go against Xiao. Even from the reaction of Wanshenge, it is highly likely that Xiao is the son of fate, and he is not afraid. The worst outcome is just death, but what is the fear of death? A super beautiful woman has already slept, afraid that she will never leave her own mark in this world until she dies. How can one never give up if they don't bear 1,000 pounds of guilt? No matter what decision you make, Yuan air will follow you. Meng Qingyuan buried her body in the arms of Gu Xinghun, lifted her tender and watery eyes, and said with warmth, "Ha ha ha. Gu Xinghun smiled and picked up Meng Qingyuan's small face, looking at each other with eyebrows and eyes. Junior sister, the aspirations of you and me can definitely swallow fate. The words are settled. The black clouds in the sky are like boiling water, stirring endlessly. Changxian sect, Daoist temple. A majestic foundation elder descended with a sword, surrounded by winds of flowing clouds. As he landed, countless fallen leaves swept open on the ground. Strong. Extremely strong. This kind of prestige exclusive to high-level life deeply impacts all the newcomers present. They are stunned, they have aspirations in their hearts, and they firmly believe that this is also their future. As the saying goes, where will the powerful go? Finally, it is the cycle of Qingming's fall. Only by stepping into cultivation can one have the qualification to control their own destiny, otherwise even if you have been in the imperial court for thousands of years, what would happen? What about the world of wealth? After all, it's just fleeting clouds and smoke, a pile of loss. Qin, the 800 years of Emperor Xuanzong, the spring festival, the great harvest ceremony. The elder opened his arms and looked down, speaking up. Suddenly, countless foreign disciples began to shout wildly, celebration. 800 years of Changxian sect, in the morning of spring, the grand ceremony for accepting disciples. Feeling the howling sound of the strong wind, the newcomers on the dojo's eyes were filled with enthusiasm, and they shouted one after another. Celebration. 800 years of Changxian sect, spring in the morning, the grand ceremony for collecting disciples. Stop. After seeing the arrival of several other majestic elders, the presiding elder gently raised his right hand to signal silence. Let's get started. The last thin and weak old man with white hair who arrived said a word to the presiding elder, and then walked towards the golden jade chair on the top platform of the dojo. The presiding elder nodded, turned around, waved his Taoist robe, and loudly praised the group of newcomers below, saying, "The immortal road is difficult, difficult as the blue sky, insignificant humanity, and the sea of corpses floating in the sky." His voice was light, but it exploded in the minds of all newcomers like Sanskrit. As the enunciation became faster and faster, countless new disciples below began to struggle to catch their breath, as if they were being weighed down by the force of Wanjun. What? What's going on? I feel like I'm having difficulty breathing, as if my bones are all being squeezed and I can't stand anymore. Is this a test? I won't kneel, I'll stand, I'll worship Changxian sect. Dad, Mom, I'll avenge you. The farmer yelled. Ah. You useless farmer doesn't even kneel. Why should I kneel? I also want to worship the Changxian sect. My heart is like a flea, following the trend. A young man with a family background in mind following techniques began to resist by reciting the Dharma. I will never. Easily. Fall down. Xiao was also inside, his hands propped up on his knees, struggling to support him. When the presiding elder was about to finish, tens of thousands of newcomers had already fallen, leaving only a few thousand people still holding on. This son has a good heart. Wanshenge is the sword peak elder of Changxian sect, with his strength reaching the peak of foundation building. At this moment, he admires Xiao's indomitable character. Haha. A charming woman next to her chuckled and said, "What's the use of nature? If we talk about nature, this person is not as much as 1/3 of Gu Xinghun's back then, but Gu Xinghun is still living outside. The beautiful woman's name is Lu Xuxin, and she is the elder of Baihua Peak. Her strength has reached the early stage of the golden elixir." She vaguely remembers the scene when Gu Xinghun, who was 14 years old, entered the sect for testing. Despite spitting blood from his mouth, his fingers were embedded in flesh, and his bones were almost crushed, he still stood with unwavering determination. And she also said to Gu Xinghun back then, "Your qualifications are not enough, you will always be inferior. Working hard to support you is just proving your foolishness." Sigh. Wan Jian let out a sigh, and he couldn't help but sigh when he recalled Gu Xinghun from back then. However, what Lu Xuxin said was the truth, and there was no way to refute it. Even if he knows that Gu Xinghun is currently at the 5th level of qi refining and has become an external senior brother, it's the same. For lower-level spiritual roots, the 5th and 6th levels are a hurdle that most people cannot overcome in their lifetime. Even if they do, what about the 7th level of qi refining behind them? Can we still be lucky? Qualification determines everything. The Immortal Word chapter, finished. When the presiding elder finished speaking the last word, a gust of wind spread from him and swept towards the new disciples. Like waves in a lake, spreading and strengthening one by one. Some disciples who could have barely stood were blown down, and a scream of babbling echoed throughout. I don't agree, I don't agree. I'm clearly standing, there's wind causing trouble. Damn it. Me too, I just stood still. However, no matter how much they complain, no one will sympathize with them. Looking at the remaining disciples, the abbot waved his hand and directly took this group of people to the front of the dojo, near many elders. 3,000 people have passed the assessment, and the next step is to test your qualifications and determine where you will be assigned. Ready, come forward and write your name, then place your hand on the bone test bead. After the presiding elder finished speaking, he spread out his hands and a precious pearl appeared out of thin air, slowly falling on the stone pillar in front of the newcomer. The faint floating light flows on the pearl body, which is incredibly magical. But even if it's incredibly magical, there aren't many people paying attention to it. For the first time facing the authority of many foundation elders, I was struck by the fatigue of scrutiny, and the new members had already lost their minds and had no time to consider anything else. And they also know that once their qualifications are found to be unqualified, they can only go to the Zai peak like the disciples eliminated in the first round, bidding farewell to the immortal path. Just as the anxious emotions began to spread, a few people moved. They approached slowly with resolute eyes and steady steps. As they tested, the voice of the presiding elder kept ringing. Han Zhongyuan, inferior fire spirit root. Ci Xiao Tong, inferior soil spirit root. Lin Fan, inferior wood spirit root. Xiao Hua, lower grade 5 elements spirit root. Upon hearing this, Lu Xuxin on stage raised her red lips slightly and looked at Wanshenge beside her, sarcastically saying, lower grade 5 elements spirit root. Elder Wan's eyes are still as sharp as ever. If it's a mid-level or top grade spirit root, it's okay. Although it consumes a bit more resources, the battles in the same level are also stronger. If we were to lower the level of the 5 elements spirit root, it would be different. Not only does it require 5 times more resources than others to advance. In the end, even the combat power was no different from that of a single spiritual root. It's like a chicken rib in a chicken rib. Humph. Wan Jian snorted lightly and ignored it. And Xiao Hua in the crowd was already foolish. He was clearly a mid-level 5 spirit root, otherwise how could he possibly become the first person in the family? Have I not only lost my cultivation, but also regressed my spiritual roots? Just as he was in a daze, the voice of the presiding elder rang out again. Wang Dazhuang, the spirit root of the Thunder sect. Suddenly, the whole room erupted in excitement. Not only did Wanshenge and Lu Xuxin feel surprised, but even the thin and weak old man with white hair opened his eyes. Middle-grade spirit roots are not much, but rarity lies in thunder spirit roots. The attacking power of Ling Regan can be said to be invincible in the world among its peers. What? Lei Ling Zhen. Mutant Ling Zhen. This allows you to directly enter the inner door. You're lucky too. As the disciples were discussing, a bearded foreigner disciple murmured, this farmer is actually Lei Ling Zhen. I need to report it to senior brother quickly. After speaking, he quickly left. The farmer who was named, on the other hand, had a bewildered expression on his face. He couldn't believe that he was an unparalleled mutated spiritual root, or a domineering, thunder-type spiritual root in the midst of dominance. After a long time, I regained my senses. He excitedly picked up Xiao beside him and loudly said, "Brother Xiao, I am Lei Lingzhen, I am Lei Lingzhen. Dezhuang, come on. Let me down quickly." Xiao had just experienced the power of oppression, but now he is being held tightly, feeling sore all over and having difficulty breathing. Wang Dezhuang quickly released Xiao, scratched his head with a silly smile, and said, "Brother Xiao, as long as I eat a bite of food from now on, I will definitely not forget you." "Dezhuang, don't say that. You must be able to directly enter the inner gate with your intermediate level spirit roots. It's important for you to cultivate yourself then." "No way." Wang Dezhuang quickly rejected it and said solemnly, "Brother Xiao, you are as kind to me as mountains. If there are resources, I will definitely share them with you." "Okay. Good brother." Although Xiao has become a useless spiritual root of the 5 elements, he is very sad in his heart, but at this moment, a friend of the medium-grade spiritual root who knows how to repay kindness is also sincerely happy. For lower-level cultivators, cultivating immortals is never an individual, and mutual assistance is the only way to go further. 10 minutes later, the test ends. As for the rare top grade, inferior ones enter the outer gate, intermediate ones enter the inner gate, and inferior ones enter the outer gate. Not a single one. Chapter 3. The Beginning of the Secret Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Help, help. A dog-leg panting heavily ran to the outside of Gu Xinghun's mansion, knocked on the door, and anxiously shouted, "Senior brother, it's not good." Crunching, Gu Xinghun pushed open the door, walked out of the room, glanced at Mo Dahu, and said calmly, "Why are you so panicked?" "Ha, ha," Mo Dahu gasped for breath and explained, "Senior brother, things are not going well. The farmer you bullied today is actually a mid-grade Lei Lingzhen, and he has also been assigned to the inner gate." Upon hearing this, Gu Xinghun rubbed his chin, feeling lost in thought. Middle-grade Lei Lingzhen. That's quite interesting. But it takes time for any spiritual root to grow. During this period, I can fully use Xiao to activate Zhang Wulang, and just Lei Lingzhen is not a concern. Moreover, this person is separated from the outside door after entering the inner door, so there is no need to waste time and manpower on him. After a moment of contemplation, Gu Xinghun said, "Since we have entered the inner gate, let's not worry about this person for now. What is the situation with Xiao? Xiao is a lower-level spiritual root of the 5 elements, assigned to our 10 generations peak." After Mo Dahu finished speaking, he excitedly wiped his hands, as if waiting for Gu Xinghun to give some command. Unexpectedly, Gu Xinghun said solemnly, "Don't bother Xiao for now. Send someone to monitor his every move, even if it's just a few grains of rice a day, you have to report it to me. Also, arrange another sect woman to approach Xiao. Since it is fate, we cannot treat it with common sense. If our subordinates have no brains to provoke Xiao, it may just be a waste of experience. Any uncertain matter should be carefully planned and dealt with. Based on Xiao's experience of being bullied today, most disciples will stay away from him. At this time, arranging a gentle junior sister is the best strategy." Ah. Mo Dahu looked at his senior brother in shock. He is a bit at a loss for this command. Shouldn't it be the usual practice to use Xiao as a warning to others and then accumulate wealth from other newly recruited disciples? Why not only do we need to send someone to monitor Xiao now, but also an additional female disciple to approach? Is it necessary to look up to a newcomer like this? Unexpectedly, Gu Xinghun once again said something that shocked him greatly. In the future, newcomers should not bully too tightly. Just accept 2 spirit stones as a meaning. A good person cannot do it, but if goodness can become a weapon that benefits oneself, disguising it is not impossible. So reducing payment is necessary. Long-term evil and good will surely reap a large number of hearts, which can be used to deal with Xiao, the son of fate. As for why it was not completely cancelled, it was because Gu Xinghun did not accept it, so naturally others would go to collect it. It's better to hold the benefits in your own hands. But who didn't know all of this, he just felt his brain buzzing. Senior brother, this. Alright, let's go down. Gu Xinghun turned around and entered the room. Just as it was closing the door, suddenly remembered something and warned Mo Dahu, don't let me know that you are still accumulating wealth recklessly, otherwise. I have you to look good at. Bang. Looking at the tightly closed door, Mo Dahu felt like he had received 10,000 critical hits. Why did senior brother become like this? It must be that dream senior sister, she must have said something to senior brother. Damn it. Damn it. Women can indeed affect men's drawing of swords. Sigh. Mo Dahu lowered his head and sighed, then turned around and left. Of course, he will definitely follow the instructions. Who makes Gu Xinghun his most respected senior brother, and his life was saved by Gu Xinghun. How dare he not comply? Inside the house. Senior brother doesn't want to be a great kind-hearted person, does he? Meng Qingyuan's puzzled and beautiful eyes were full of energy. Her jade fingers were still sliding on Gu Xinghun's chest, and a carefree aura filled the room. At the time of the pavilion, she had already been captivated by Gu Xinghun's heroic spirit. At this moment, Mei Yan is all drawing silk. Pop. Gu Xinghun grabbed her hand and gently pushed it down onto the bed. With a wicked smile, he said, can't you, senior brother, be a hypocrite? Yes, why not? Meng Qingyuan said, with her jade legs coiled around Gu Xinghun's waist, her eyebrows and eyes met, and she said, then should junior sister also learn to be a good girl? Feeling the constantly undulating fragrant peaks of the woman beneath her, and the pair of jade legs rubbing against her buttocks, Gu Xinghun excitedly said. Don't, I just like your devilish appearance now. Ah, how much do you like it? Meng Qingyuan extended her tongue and licked the tip of Gu Xinghun's nose. What a little fairy. Feeling the breath rushing towards him, Gu Xinghun couldn't bear it anymore. Directly and violently tear off the green veil from Dream Qingyuan's body, then pick up the bright and snowy jade body and jump up with a loud bang. With the flowing hair, it keeps swinging back and forth. The melodious sound lingers on the beam, the tide rises and falls. 10 million words are omitted here. The early morning sun rises from the east, piercing through the clouds like a beam of light, tearing apart the darkness, shaking away all the demons and monsters, and clarifying the jade world. Gu Xinghun arrived early on the pavilion, feeling the rising sun and practicing the exquisite Gung Jin Ju, a low-level technique of the Changxian sect. Don't be fooled by his cruel and evil behavior, which is not suitable for this majestic cultivation method, but it is not difficult to cultivate at all. On the contrary, it is very smooth. Gu Xinghun is indeed not a good person. But he is ultimately a traveler, with a trace of emotional concepts from his past life remaining in his heart. He treats his own people, such as Dream Qingyuan and his subordinates, with all his heart and effort. It is precisely because of this kind of care that he cultivates the Gung Golden technique so quickly. As for bullying fellow disciples, cruel and ruthless treatment of outsiders, and ruthless killing, what does it count as in the cultivation world? Compared to those demon cultivators who sacrificed their blood to the entire imperial dynasty or the entire city, it's like a big house seeing a small house. This world is not a past life. The so-called morality is to protect the weak and the strong who do not originate from their own strength. In a world where martial arts are paramount, everything except strength is inferior. As long as you have the strength to kill others and eliminate them all, others will only acknowledge your strength, no one will blame you, and even envy your carefree heart. The strong set rules, the strong lead sentient beings in their beliefs, and the invincible themselves cannot promote a set of morals to constrain their own freedom of mind. Only unconstrained killing is the most advantageous rule for the strong. They control sentient beings, do as they please, and kill whoever they want. A world that is taught by propriety, righteousness, integrity, and shame, and a world that pursues ultimate strength, are two completely different worlds. From the moment we were born in this cultivation world, everyone will eventually understand a truth. The law of the jungle. This has also led to the fact that most people in this world have already surpassed their reverence for life in their desire to become stronger. People are not for themselves, heaven and earth will perish. Thinking of today's Datong secret realm, Gu Xinghun's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness. Since we have found a way to activate the Wanshenge, how could we possibly let Xiao go? The path of cultivating immortality is either for you to die or for me to live. Since I have already offended you, then offend me to the end. Call out. Gu Xinghun exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi, adjusted his internal breathing, and prepared to check the Wanshenge. But at the same time, there are also some palpitations. Although he dares to frequently sense the pantheon, he really dares not frequently enter the pantheon to check, because after his first inspection of the pantheon, he would dream of some terrifying figures every night, and they would tell him, "I control my luck, I want to change my destiny against the heavens." Yin and yang strike together, thunder shakes the world, and within the reach of thunder, the wind and clouds will change. The common people are scattered, the world is shrouded in flames, and among the 100 schools of thought, I am the only one standing tall and mighty. The people of the Li family keep saying that I owe them, and now I will repay my father by cutting off my bones. I will repay my mother by cutting off my flesh. Now I will also repay them all the 500 yuan that Li Jing raised me at once. Gu Xinghun now recalls those terrifying sounds, his brain buzzing with pain. But in the end, he chose to enter his mind and take a look at the pantheon. Wanshenge is like a stone tablet from heaven and earth, but its material is neither gold nor jade, more like a kind of glazed charm, shining brightly. Always emitting a vast, ethereal, and supreme aura. 10,000 divine figures also represent 10,000 strong ones. Every grid is surrounded by countless terrifying flowing iron locks, making a click-click-click sound. Some chains are entwined with lightning, some chains are entwined with supreme flames, even a glance can shatter a person's heart and mind. This is also one of the reasons why Gu Xinghun's heart palpitations, apart from the sound of dreams, make him afraid to frequently check the Wanshenge. At this moment, Zhang Wulang in the first divine figure was filled with a faint red evil aura, even the keywords were flashing with red light. If you look at it according to the feeling, it's probably 39% already lit up. Ha ha ha. After seeing the progress, Gu Xinghun smiled happily and withdrew from the Wanshenge. It was really that oppressive aura. Finally, get up and head to the dojo. The 10th generation outer disciple peak is also known as the ethereal peak. There is a winding green tree road from the mountaintop to the mountainside, and every few steps one can see the residence of a fellow disciple. At this moment, Mo Dahu on the roadside saw Gu Xinghun leaving and came forward to report. Senior brother, Xiao ate 3,632 grains of rice yesterday, and the female disciple has already arranged it. We haven't found any abnormalities yet. Lu Ming nodded and dismissed him before continuing to the dojo. Hello, senior brother. Senior brother, you look so handsome today. Listening to the warm greetings from the junior brothers and sisters on the way, Gu Xinghun smiled and nodded in response one by one. After all, after enduring so many years, I finally welcomed the relaxation of the 10,000 divine gods. Can I be in a bad mood? But this behavior has made many outer disciples even more puzzled. Senior brother not only changed the payment amount for the spirit stone, but also laughed at us. Yes, I thought Mo Dahu was talking about 20 yesterday, but I didn't expect it to be 2. I think senior brother must be breaking through soon, so I decided to leave a good impression on the outside. What does leaving a good impression mean? Do you need to do this, senior brother? Senior brother has always been the god in my heart. That's right, if you don't take a look at other external sects, even before the payment was changed, their senior brother would have received much more than our senior brother. All the way to the dojo on the mountainside, Gu Xinghun walked up to the presiding elder and bowed, "Elder Mu." "Coming." Elder Mu responded kindly. He has a good impression of Gu Xinghun, who is decisive in killing and daring to take risks. Apart from being a bit extreme, he is good at everything. But cultivating immortals requires such an extreme temperament, otherwise how could one go far? The so-called Dao Xian Kujia refers to the paranoia of one's nature. "I'm not late, are you?" Gu Xinghun politely said. The main reason is that Elder Mu has a good reputation within the sect and belongs to a kind and amiable category. It is normal to show him some respect. Of course, in addition to kind elders like Qi, there are also cruel elders who are in charge of killing and attacking, especially encouraging disciples to kill and attack each other. It can even be said that they do not care about human life at all. "I'm not late," Elder Mu said, then took out another piece of paper and said, "Take this list and go check the names to see if everyone is here." Gu Xinghun took over the list, walked towards the crowd, and loudly called out, "Mo Keqing, Lin Shufan, Xiao." Every time a person is called, they will see their corresponding disciples emerge from the crowd and respond, "Yes." It wasn't until the last person on the list was counted that two people were less likely to come. Gu Xinghun turned around to report and saw Elder Mu nodding lightly at him. The divine consciousness of building foundations is so strong that one naturally perceives it. Elder Mu asked the group of newcomers, "Did either of you convey the reason for being late?" One breath, two breaths in the end, no one answered. "If you dare to be late on the first day, you should get off to the workers' peak." Elder Mu murmured a sentence and then typed a message on the transmission note, making a judgment on the fate of those two people. Subsequently, amidst the sarcastic gazes of the crowd, Elder Mu sent a spaceship from the leader's order. At first, the spaceship was just a tiny phantom, but as the spiritual power in the token continued to be input, it began to transform the illusion into reality. Chapter 4. Setting Sail. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh my goodness. Is this the immortal family's method? Surprisingly. Being able to row a boat out of thin air, I didn't believe it when I heard our village chief say it before. This is a token, probably a spirit sealing tool. Many new disciples in the audience looked at the scene in surprise, as if they had seen the most novel thing in the world. Of course, some disciples did not find it strange. New disciples have always been a mix of good and bad, some are sons of big families, some are rural farmers, and their knowledge naturally varies greatly. Gu Xinghun walked to the side of the ship ladder and waved his hand, ordering, "Everyone, come and queue up. 50 and 50 of you board the ship, don't let any stampedes happen." As the crowd rushed in, he took a few steps forward to mediate the congestion, occasionally patting the newcomers back as a signal to speed up. About 5 minutes later, everyone boarded the ship. Finally, Gu Xinghun also jumped up, while Elder Mu rode up with his sword. There is only one guest room on the ship, which is for Elder Mu to drive, while the others are rows of seats. Looking at the chaotic crowd on the ship, Gu Xinghun impatiently said, "Those who didn't grab a seat, hurry up and find a fixed object. If you fall down later, no one will care about you. Busy for 10 minutes. After everyone was ready, Gu Xinghun waved to the room. A wave of spirit instantly covered the bow of the ship, used to break the wind. Then the hull slowly moved, like an airplane setting sail, with the bow facing upwards. Ong at takeoff, Gu Xinghun kept holding onto the iron pole next to him to maintain stability. Suddenly, a soft and tight grip came from his feet. Looking down, a delicate woman dressed in silver gauze fell to the ground, her hand tightly gripping his ankle. "Big Senior brother, I'm sorry." The delicate woman lifted her rosy face and looked flustered. "Tisk." Gu Xinghun looked at the woman with messy hair at his feet, frowning and making a sound. But still bent down, inserted her hand into the gap between her small waist and the boat board, and helped it up. The soft and elastic feeling spreads throughout the palm of the hand, and the delicate fragrance of hair also comes to the nose. Gu Xinghun's mouth contracted and his expression remained unchanged, saying, "Hold on, there's no next time." "Well, thank you, senior brother." The delicate woman murmured in a low voice, then tightly grasped the iron railing and kept looking down at her invisible toes. The speed of the spaceship is neither fast nor slow, but the wind in the air is like an invisible assassin. Except for the person near the bow, everyone else's hair is scattered and looks like a silly joke. Ah, look at it. There's also a spaceship over there. Where is it? Where is it? Hello. Are you also going to participate in the Datong secret realm? I really admire this group of people. Gu Xinghun suddenly became furious and said, "What are you looking at? Do you know that the Luohan sect is not against us? Don't be killed with a knife when you enter the secret realm." Everyone was stunned and looked at the spaceship again with an indescribable expression on their faces. I have never experienced what it means to cultivate immortals through life and death. I thought that after entering the sect, immortals would separate and reach the pinnacle of their lives. Gu Xinghun looked at these silly people and shook his head helplessly. The world of cultivating immortals has never been peaceful, especially in terms of obtaining resources. There are only countless corpses, blood and bones. After flying for 20 minutes, a magnificent blue sea appeared beneath the clouds, and the spacecraft slowly landed at this moment. Bang! The spaceship landed on the sea surface, splashing countless waves of seawater, causing everyone to feel tearful. Fortunately, the fifth layer of qi refining can protect the body with spiritual elements, and Gu Xinghun has nothing to do. The beautiful woman next to her didn't splash much because of his obstruction. Wow, that island is so beautiful. Look, there are really big white birds in the air. Due to the fact that the sea was not as dangerous as it was when it was empty, and the driving speed was not as fast, everyone began to leave their seats and look around. Occasionally, small fish jump up on the sea surface, or empty birds flap their wings and pass by, giving off a sea-like appearance. Be quiet, we'll be there in a while. Gu Xinghun looked at the chattering crowd in front of him and scolded. But he forgot that when he first came before, he was actually similar to this group of newcomers, looking like he had never seen the world before. After another 10 minutes of sailing, we finally arrived at our destination. At first glance, there were densely packed kilometer spaceships parked around, and countless cultivators on the coast were chatting and laughing. There are also some elderly people sitting on the side chatting with each other. When Emperor Xuanzong arrived, a strong young man came to greet him and said, "Elder Mu, long time no see. Lin Hu Dao friend, don't come safely." Elder Mu smiled and waved to Gu Xinghun, saying, "Xinghun, come and see Mr. Lin." Gu Xinghun stepped forward and bowed calmly, saying, "Junior Gu Xinghun, have you met Mr. Lin?" "Not bad, not bad. With the 5th level of qi refining, one should be able to enter your Changxian sect's inner door even further." Lin Hu spoke praises, but there was not much smile on his face, indicating that he didn't care much about an external disciple. Of course, Elder Mu's intention was not to let Lin Hu praise him, but to have the external master brother under Lin Hu's sect meet with Gu Xinghun. Sure enough, after Lin Hu finished praising him, he called his elder martial brother from the 3rd Ling sect of his family, Zhang Buji. And he said, "The highest limit of the Datong secret realm is the 5th level of qi refining. You too can be considered the best of the 5 levels of qi refining. Go down and have a good chat, plan. Don't embarrass the sect in the secret realm." "Yes." Zhang Buji responded and left with Gu Xinghun. Arriving at a forest, Zhang Buji was the first to say, "Brother Gu, it's over. Let me tell you, Xiao Ruoxue from the Luohan sect has formed an alliance with Yuan Bufan from the Yuanhua sect." Gu Xinghun looked puzzled. Zhang Buji explained, it's like this. The day before yesterday, when I went to the Defang Dan Yuan Hall, I found that Xiao Ruoxue and Yuan Bufan were walking side by side, talking and laughing. Even if it wasn't an alliance, they were still in agreement. Yuan Bufan. Is it very impressive? I haven't heard of such a person before. Where did they come from? Gu Xinghun lowered his eyebrows and pondered. Pop. Zhang Buji patted his head and suddenly realized, oh yes, you don't know him. He is the newly appointed senior brother of the Yuan Fire sect. I only found out after investigating, and I don't know where he got the chance encounter. His martial arts are very powerful. As is well known, once you enter the secret realm, life and death are destined, wealth and fortune are in heaven. If you want to obtain resource treasures, either fight. Either kill. If the martial arts are powerful, it is definitely a great weapon. After all, everyone is a small sect, and it is almost impossible for external disciples to have top-notch martial arts. Gu Xinghun asked, what about the Gung Jin decision of the Longxian sect? Stronger than Gung Jin. Upon hearing this, Gu Xinghun's calm face finally flashed a hint of worry. He is not the son of fate and cannot achieve anything by defeating the strong with the weak. The previous relaxation was because he had led a team to this secret realm 2 years ago, and his strength was at the top level, so few people could threaten him. But now there is an extraordinary Yuan. This made him have to rethink the countermeasures. If Yuan Bufan is as strong as Zhang Buji said, then if there is any resource conflict between oneself and the other party in the secret realm, based on the differences in martial arts, there may only be a choice of retreat. After all, the Gung Golden technique can only be considered a low-level martial art. Can we only shrink this time? Suddenly, Gu Xinghun's spiritual light flashed. How about a strong level of gas refining? Can it withstand people's hearts? Gu Xinghun's evil spirit smiled and said, no matter how strong their families are, they cannot be stronger than the other sections. As he spoke, he put on Zhang Buji's shoulder. Brother Buji, if we are intercepted by them and given resources directly, we can help them go crazy in order to bring them to their demise. In addition, we secretly spread information. During the game, greedy people will form an alliance to end them. Our gains from fishing in troubled waters may not necessarily be lower than our own search. Zhang Buji's eyes twitched and he said deceitfully, this plan is feasible, but I still think the shortcomings will help. The two of them looked at each other, smiled knowingly, and their hearts were clear. Isn't it easy for two chi refining 5 layers to secretly provoke conflicts? Chapter 5. The Rise of Destiny. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There are so many people competing in the most ordinary secret realm. If it were to be the immortal road, how many corpses and blood seas would one have to tread? Returning to the coast, Gu Xinghun glanced at the endless crowd of 82 sects and felt deeply moved. Dang! A cave on the island collapsed and emitted an invisible wave of air, spreading like a big circle, directly blocking the seawater by 10 meters. At the same time, the hosts elected by the various sects rose into the air and shouted, people of the Shanlian sect, enter quickly. In an instant, countless monks and nuns rushed towards the cave. Luohan sect. Changxian sect. Upon hearing this, Gu Xinghun stood up and led everyone to the cave. The cave is surrounded by vines and shrouded in mist. At the deepest point, there is a rippling water mark on the ground, and below the mark lies a void of black and dark. Without much thought, Gu Xinghun jumped directly into the ripples and water marks, because he had been here before. Subsequently, countless new disciples followed closely behind. When the crowd opened their eyes again, they had already arrived at the secret realm. This is a large wooden area. The sky is dim and yellow, shrouded in white mist, resembling the yellow and white film quality of the Republic of China era. Through the white mist, one can vaguely see thousands of dead trees standing horizontally in the distance. Some places have dense dead trees, while others have sparse dead trees without any regularity. There are also some strange-shaped withered vines coiled around the tree trunk. When the breeze blows, the withered vines make a rustling sound, echoing in the long sky. Countless fallen leaves also dance with the wind, swirling gracefully in the dim sky, withering and profound. It feels like being in a barren desert of dead trees. Due to the fact that people who teleport during each time period are assigned to different positions, no one has seen people from other sections. Why is the fog in this secret realm so heavy? The light is still so dim and yellow, and besides a piece of dead wood, I can't see anything clearly. Why doesn't even have soil? No, I don't think so. I think this surface is just a vast and boundless wooden board. The only light source here seems to be emanating from nearby dead trees. It's so dark yellow, it's so uncomfortable for the eyes. For the first time entering the secret realm, the newcomers looked at the scene before them and chattered incessantly. Xiao, don't let me down. Gu Xinghun turned around and gave a meaningful glance at Xiao in the crowd. Then, with a wave of his hand, he led the crowd to search for Zhang Buji from the Three Lingzong sect to meet, and during the journey, he would also try to find some treasures. The group slowly moved forward in the secret realm, like a flat boat in the sea. Why does my ring seem to be absorbing the spiritual power of the 5 elements within the secret realm? Xiao, in the crowd, was filled with suspicion. This ring was picked up by him in a cave. It won't break with a knife, won't melt with fire, even if thrown into an alchemy furnace, it will be intact. He always thought this ring was not simple, and indeed, something strange has happened now. As time passed, Xiao could even feel his divine soul and ring building some kind of spiritual bridge. But he knows that this is not the time for research yet. Calm down and follow the team closely. After walking for about half an hour, Xiao saw that the dim yellow-white mist ahead began to emit a faint glow of hot flames, and the closer he approached, the more he could feel the airflow getting hotter. He changed his gaze and quietly slipped behind everyone. At this moment, everyone also noticed something unusual and spoke up one after another. It's so hot, my body feels sticky. Why is it getting hotter and hotter as we walk, and the flames in front are also getting brighter? Is there any danger ahead? I feel this breath is very gentle. Is it because I am a fire spirit root? Stop making noise. Gu Xinghun gestured for everyone to be quiet and explained, the front is the wood spirit fire sea. The person from the fire spirit root will stand out for me. Upon hearing this, all the people of the fire spirit root stepped forward, including the 5 elements abandoned spirit root Xiao. They looked at each other. Wood spirit fire sea. What resources are there inside? But why are only our fire spirit roots out there? I don't know. Follow the orders of senior brother and act accordingly. Fire spirit roots should all go in to find treasures, but do not go deep. Once you feel your eyes dry, it indicates that your spirit roots have reached their limit. Go and return quickly. Gu Xinghun said very thoughtfully. Because once these disciples come out, he can collect 20% of the treasures. Although 20% may seem rare, the advantage lies in the abundance of new disciples. Currently, there are 400 fire spirit root disciples, and by then, 20% per person will be equivalent to a gain of 80 people for nothing. Otherwise, who would be willing to be the team leader? It's hard to please, and there's still danger to life. What are you all doing in a daze? Go inside. Especially you Xiao, why have you been shrinking behind everyone? Stand at the front for me. After speaking, the 10,000 divine figures in Gu Xinghun's mind trembled. This excited him and he took 3 steps forward, picked up Xiao and threw him in. Ah! Xiaohua's mournful voice slowly flew away from the sky. The fire spirit root newcomers, who were still in a daze just now, immediately spread their legs and ran into the wood spirit fire sea, afraid that they would be thrown into it by their senior brother one step later. Bang! In the depths of the sea of fire, a figure fell from the sky and fiercely hit the fire tree below, splashing countless sparks. Ah, it hurts so much. Xiao got up in excruciating pain, and then his face became terrifying. What he saw was an endless sea of flames, with countless sparks rippling in it, terrifying to the extreme. From the initial pain, to dry heat, and then to scorching heat. Xiao only felt that if he stayed for a while, he would definitely become a fiery person. Unable to extinguish the slight fire on his body, he ran straight towards the outer circle. But what he didn't notice was that he ran backwards. Ah! Hot, hot. Gu Xinghun's mouth outside is almost crooked with a smile, because Wanshenge has reacted again. It seems that the only way to enhance one's divine character is to torture Xiao with one's own hands. But it's a bit slow. Anyway, one day it will be activated, and according to Zhang Wulang's combat power, at least it's about building a foundation. Moreover, the Geocentritis divine skill comes with its own healing effect. At that time, I will surely rise up in the cultivation world. When Gu Xinghun was still immersed in joy, Xiao in the sea of fire had already turned into a fiery person. Ah! I hate it. Gu Xinghun, you are a useless son. What exactly is the grudge between me and you? Xiao roared up to the sky, as if he wanted to blow the last unyielding breath of his life into the world. The flames became increasingly fierce on him, and countless scorching flames poured into his roaring mouth. Crazy. The wind is gradually rising. The entire sea of fire was bent, and the flames on Xiaohua's body were dancing with the wind, occasionally drifting east and occasionally west, like a scarecrow caught fire in the wind. Hot. Extremely hot. That's the skin burning. That's flesh and blood roasting in the blazing fire. I'm not willing. A desperate tear slipped from the corner of Xiaohua's eye. Dida. The ring splashed onto his hand. Buzzing at the moment of touching tears, the ring began to tremble. Light, a faint light, blooms in the blazing sea of fire. The source of that light flows like a swimming fish on the ring, faster and faster, as if imprinted with patterns. Dang! Formation of branding patterns. Circular waves within a range of 10 meters spread out one after another from the ring, creating a vacuum in the sea of fire. As the formation on the ring took shape, a mysterious formation suddenly appeared under Xiaohua's feet, and the scorching sea of fire dispersed as if encountering a natural enemy. Amidst the shimmering surface array, spiritual powers surged upwards, lifting the anxious body and preventing it from collapsing. What's even more magical is that the gemstone on the ring is overflowing with milky white spiritual liquid, quickly covering Xiaohua's entire body. Instantly cover an anxious body with white. Burnt skin is returning to its original state, burnt black hair is growing, and burnt nails are proliferating. I am. Xiaohua, who was on the brink of death, opened his eyes and murmured. He felt that the injuries in his body were rapidly recovering, his strength was climbing wildly, and in the early and middle stages of the qi refining layer it wasn't until the beginning of the third layer of gas refining that it slowly stopped. At this moment, the intelligence of the son of Qi Yun immediately emerged, and Xiaohua sat cross-legged, relying on the power of the surface formation to stabilize his realm. 10 minutes later, Xiaohua, who had recovered, stood up and began searching for resources in the sea of fire. He needs to seek resources to improve himself as soon as possible, and then seek revenge. Beyond the sea of fire, make a fortune. My grass can be exchanged for 10 spirit stones in the merit hall. Hey, help me take a look. What is this fruit in my hand? I don't know each other either. The disciples covered in ashes on their Taoist robes walked out one after another, rubbing their eyes, chatting and laughing with each other. Some held the flame beetle in their hands, while others held a handful of floating flame grass. It's been so long, why hasn't Xiaohua come out yet? Watching one disciple after another appear, but without the figure of Xiaohua, Gu Xinghun was puzzled in his heart. Has the Son of Destiny gained some adventure inside? With this in mind, Gu Xinghun first searched for the fire spirit root disciples, then turned around and entered the Sea of Fire. Although he is a Jinlingen, he has reached the 5th level of Qi refining, and the Sea of Fire is still unbearable for him. Chapter 6. Fate Duel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Arrive at the place where Xiao smashed it. Gu Xinghun crouched down to check and saw ashes sticking to his fingertips, rubbing and sniffing. The scorching smell, it seems that Xiao has once again been eroded by the Sea of Fire, but what about people? The spiritual energy reaches the eye and looks around. Within the Sea of Fire, there was no place for rebellion, and there were no traces of Xiao's actions. Shua. Gu Xinghun continued to venture deeper, his body like a fierce wind weaving through the Sea of Fire. What sound? Xiao heard the movement coming from the Sea of Fire, stopped picking wood and burning grass, and stood up to look around. Click. A suffocating force instantly came from the back of his neck, and Xiao suddenly turned his head and exclaimed in fear, "Senior brother. Let go." He is currently unable to determine whether Gu Xinghun's intention is to humiliate or kill, so he is not prepared to resist and expose his strength. After all, transforming from a lack of cultivation to a 3rd level of Qi refining within a day is too shocking. Being known by outsiders is definitely troublesome. Humph. Gu Xinghun let out a cold snort, and the force on his hands suddenly increased, causing Xiao's neck to continuously make a click-click-click sound. Although it is uncertain whether killing Xiao will completely illuminate Zhang Wulang. But feeling the pleasure brought by the accelerated brightening of the divine aura, there was no one around, and Gu Xinghun's killing heart had gradually risen. Why force me? Xiao, whose face turned red, kicked and ran wildly in mid-air, like an incompetent useless dog. He knew that if he didn't resist anymore, he might really be choked to death. Xiao began to unleash his cultivation in the 3rd layer of Qi refining. Attach a stream of fire attribute spiritual energy to one's own neck, and then use the energy to break open Gu Xinghun's hands. How could it be? Feeling Xiao's spiritual power, Gu Xinghun was greatly surprised. You should know that yesterday's Xiao was still an ordinary person with no cultivation. Judging from the intensity of this scorching spiritual breath, it is at least the 3rd level of Qi refining flying power. This is only half an hour. Xiao surprisingly went from no cultivation to the 3rd level of gas refining. Is the Son of Destiny really so terrifying? We can't procrastinate anymore, we must kill him as soon as possible. My own life is definitely more precious than awakening Zhang Wulang. At this moment, Gu Xing's soul was in pain and he used a killing move, pinching Xiao's neck and smashing it fiercely towards the ground. Bang! Xiao was fiercely smashed to the ground, igniting endless sparks. But the Son of Destiny is truly the Son of Destiny, and his character and endurance are by no means ordinary. Even if he was hit hard, Xiao could still endure the excruciating pain and forcefully break free from the shackles of Gu Xinghun while the starfire was blinding his eyes, and take 3 steps back to widen the distance between them. At this moment, the two figures frowned and looked at each other. The red clothes of Gu Xinghun sway in the Sea of Fire, dancing with the aura of evil attack. Xiao's resolute face, shining with flames, showcasing indomitability. Gu Xingxiao took the lead and directly wielded the gum golden technique, with a faint yellow energy attached to his palm, creating a beautiful arc in the air. He slammed down with a fierce palm. Pop! Xiao pressed his arms against his face and struggled to block a blow, causing his body to slide back on the surface and igniting countless sparks. He knew he was not the direct enemy of Gu Xinghun, so he twisted his body in an instant and quickly escaped with the force of explosive retreat. The direction of escape is... No way. He must not run to the Sea of Fire to join other disciples, otherwise it will be difficult to take action against him through the rules of the sect. Gu Xinghun furrowed his brow tightly, and the Gung Jin chi in his hand shot rapidly at Xiao one after another. Dang! 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 Every blow hit Xiao, but his footsteps did not slow down at all. At this moment, Gu Xinghun's eyes flickered and his hands began to pinch the formula, da-da-da. His fingerprints kept growing, and a light yellow spiritual energy quickly condensed between his palms. After 2 breaths, he shouted loudly, "Go!" Boom! The chi of Gung Jin sprints away in the sea of fire. Pang! With a loud bang. Xiao, who was hit by the aura of Gung Jin, bounced into the air like a pinball, and his mouth continuously spewed blood, creating a bloody crescent arc in the air. Shwa! Splashing onto the face of Gu Xing's soul rushing down below. Run, keep running. The son of destiny. Isn't there a heavenly way to protect you? Show me your protection. Gu Xing's soul glared in anger as he looked at the falling Xiao, as if looking at the meat on the chopping board again. At the moment when the other person fell, he suddenly lifted his foot and stepped on his heart, increasing the impact of the fall. Bang! At the moment Xiaohua's flesh and blood body touched the ground, a gust of wind and waves rose, opening up a sea of flames. But how can 1 foot be enough? The incredible event of Xiaohua breaking through the 3rd layer of qi refining in 1 day has brought great pressure to Gu Xinghun. If he doesn't kill this person, his true heart will be uneasy. Bang bang bang. Gu Xinghun's expression gradually went crazy, and he kept stomping away. If he becomes the villain, he will have no more sons of fate in this world. Tear it apart. Xiaohua had a difficult luck in his hand, trying his best to stop Gu Xinghun's footwork, and even tore off a large piece of Gu Xinghun's robe that moved with his feet. But this indomitable resistance is simply stimulating Gu Xinghun's heart of hatred towards heaven and injustice. Why are you still alive? You're dead. Gu Xinghun became more and more excited as he spoke, and the strength under his feet approached madness. Stepping on Xiaohua's mouth, blood kept gushing out, splattering into each other's robes. Die for me. Gu Xinghun roared up to the sky and infused all his spiritual power into his legs. His foot seemed to carry the aura of death, stepping straight on Xiaohua's heart. With this blow, he has an 80% chance of crushing Xiaohua. Dang! The moment I stepped on it, I could no longer move a single inch, as if I had stepped on some invisible barrier and been blocked. Calm down and look, the ring in Xiaohua's hand is actually bursting with spiritual power, forming an invisible barrier. And there was also a milky white liquid overflowing from the gemstone of the ring, covering Xiaohua's entire body like a cocoon in the sea of fire. What is this? Gu Xinghun's heart and mind were greatly shaken, and he was startled to hear a sound. However, his movements under his feet did not stop, and as he stepped, he shouted, "Block! I'll let you block." He doesn't believe he can't break this barrier, let alone believe that decades of hardship can't compare to a son of fate. The arrogance of the traveler also burst out in his heart. Dang! 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 Waves stacked up due to foot strength kept appearing on the barrier in front of Xiaohua. Looking at the strong barrier in front of him, Xiaohua knew that he was currently safe. Immediately absorbed the milky white liquid with luck. After all, the intelligence of the Son of Destiny is not just a decoration. He knows how to use anything available to help himself. After 60 breaths, the injury recovers by half. Xiaohua clearly felt that the power of the barrier was weakening, but the inspiration in the ring was becoming increasingly clear in its connection with his divine soul. Even the spiritual energy inside the ring can be sensed, although it is a bit thin, it may only have the strength of the 4 layers of refining. Deli used the power in the ring to force Gu Xinghun back, and then escaped from the sea of fire to join the new people. Xiaohua, who had recovered slightly from his injury, pretended to be getting worse and crawled towards the outer circle of the sea of fire with difficulty. Seeing this scene, Gu Xinghun's eyes narrowed slightly. Why is Xiaohua still in a state of serious injury? Is the white liquid just now useless? No. Since it has appeared, it must have had its effect, and although that ring is magical, it definitely cannot threaten my life, otherwise Xiao Huo would never have been captured without a fight. Since the power of the ring cannot pose a threat to me, his only hope is the sect rules. Thinking of this, Gu Xinghun quickly blocked Xiao Huo's path, and Ling Ling spoke out. Learning a lost dog is quite good. But do you think it's possible for you to find an opportunity to meet new people outside the flames? This statement comes out. Xiao Huo's crawling body suddenly stopped. He looked at the red demonic figure in front of him and said unyielding, Gu Xinghun, what if you know? Can you break through my barrier? Hee hee. Gu Xinghun sneered, my tone has hardened a lot, but I still can't change your dog-like demeanor. Besides, even if I can't break through your barrier, it's not difficult to stop you from crawling at all. Do you think so? Jia. Gu Xinghun joked and even bent down, chuckling inwardly. At this moment, both sides seem to be chatting, but in reality, they are both calming down. Gu Xinghun stepped on his spiritual feet dozens of times, and his spiritual power eventually dried up. Although Xiao Huo has been cured with milky white liquid, his recovery is not comprehensive, and his confidence in the power of the ring is only 50%. If he fails, he will undoubtedly die. Chapter 7. Adventures of Xiao and Huo, Two Great Wars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 5 minutes later. As Gu Xinghun slowly walked towards the barrier, Xiao Huo immediately activated the spiritual power in the ring to strengthen it. He knew that if the barrier energy at this moment was weaker than a point, Gu Xinghun would see a good or bad outcome. Step on it. Gu Xinghun stepped on the barrier, branding a blood footprint, and said with a wicked smile, I can give you a chance to live. Do you want it? Speak up. Xiao Huo knew that he couldn't last long to strengthen the barrier, so he just wanted to finish the conversation quickly. Hand over the ring. I'll spare your life. Besides, think about it yourself. Even if you run away from me, I will tell others this news. Can you guess how many people will be interested in you then? After speaking, Gu Xinghun laughed heartily. How could he be so vicious? Let me hand over the ring, isn't it making me a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? Just as Xiao Huo was thinking angrily, suddenly an old and elusive voice rang out in his mind. Child, listen carefully. Who are you? Upon hearing this voice, Xiao Huo's mind was greatly shaken and he quickly asked back in his mind. I am the moral immortal lord, and now it is said that you have escaped from your dream butterfly and escaped from the cage. As the ethereal voice disappeared, Xiao Huo only felt like he had a sudden enlightenment in his mind to learn another martial arts technique. The escape of the dream butterfly is both fantasy and reality, which can change the spatial layout and achieve the effect of shifting shapes and positions. Gu Xinghun, you dream. If you have the ability, kill me. Xiao Huo drank with cold eyes, trying to anger Gu Xinghun, and then used the opponent's qi refining 5-layer spirit power to stimulate the dream butterfly escape. As for why he didn't use the power of the ring to use the dream butterfly shield, it was because he felt that the spiritual power of the ring was too weak to match the full force strike of Gu Xinghun's qi refining 5 layers. Gu Xinghun was frightened and retreated 3 steps. In his cognition, once the son of Qi Yun says such a thing, it is going to magnify the move. And if something goes wrong, there will always be demons. If Xiao Huo really wants to die with all his heart, what's the difference between giving out a ring? Why did you end up risking your life for nothing? It's completely unreasonable. Gu Xinghun stood not far away and said coldly, what do you want to do? Hee, you dare not kill me. Xiao Huo spoke and slowly stood up, his broken body in Taoist robe as if mocking Gu Xinghun's cowardice. What is the cowardice of blindly seeking good fortune and avoiding evil used to kill fate? Gu Xinghun didn't believe it anymore. Can a son of Qi Yun's achievements in a day really crush the strength he has gained through decades of hard work? Even if you really can't kill Xiao Huo, you still have to force out some of Xiaohua's trumps. Let me see where you really have the confidence. Gu Xinghun mobilized his entire spiritual power, as fierce as a ferocious tiger. His red robe made a sound, and his flowing light yellow energy attached to his palm, catapulted away. Shua. At the moment of chopping towards Xiaohua, he turned into a flying saucer and dissipated without any trace. How? How could it be? Gu Xinghun looked around and suddenly froze in place, lost and melancholy. He understood how Xiaohua managed to escape. But this is really outrageous. The method of escape is a high-level skill in the cultivation world, even the Changxian sect doesn't have it. Where did Xiaohua come from? But what's happening now, he has to believe it. Is it traveling through this place and practicing hard for decades? Can't it really be worth a day for the son of Qi Yun? Why? Even if refining 3 layers of qi in a day is enough, there are still advanced techniques. I have been searching for decades and experiencing countless life and death hardships. What is it to be considered in the face of fate? I'm not willing. Gu Xinghun's eyes were filled with grief and anger, and he looked up to the sky and roared, "One day, I will crush your dog's heavenly path." Although he spoke arrogantly, a strong sense of crisis spread in his heart. He didn't know how long it would take Xiaohua to surpass the 5th level of qi refining, but if he followed this incredible opportunity of the heavenly way, it wouldn't be long. If the heavens are not fair, then fight against them to the end. I don't believe that Wanshenge can't defeat the Son of Destiny. Gu Xinghun murmured and angrily left. He clearly understood that he had already formed a bond with the son of Qi Yun, and it was not an escape that could solve the problem. The cultivation world has always been a path of killing and attacking since ancient times. But what he didn't know was that at this moment, Wanshenge was crazily brightening up, and Zhang Wulang's progress had reached 99%. 2 minutes later, Gu Xinghun arrived at the outer circle of the fire sea and was about to step out when he smelled a strong smell of blood and countless shouts. Ah! Don't kill me! Yuanhua sect, you must die so hard. Our senior brother will definitely seek revenge for us when he returns. Gu Xinghun looked through the sea of fire, and outside was already a sea of corpses and blood, like a human purgatory. Due to his absence, most of the deceased were disciples of Changxian sect, and their cries of grief were unbearable. Although Gu Xinghun doesn't care how many new disciples die, he is still the leader of this team and must ensure that the survival rate reaches 50% in order to complete the mission. The original plan was to rendezvous with Zhang Buji, and then avoid the sharpness of the Yuanhua sect and the Luohan sect, helping their madness to self-destruct. Moreover, he and Zhang Buji could also secretly create conflicts. But plans can never keep up with changes. I want to see how much you can kill. A cold light flashed through Gu Xinghun's eyes, and he took 3 steps back into the sea of fire, hiding his figure and waiting for the burly man in the field to reveal his weakness. Go to hell, you useless bunch. The burly man on the battlefield spoke wildly while chopping and killing, like a god of killing, invincible. The burly man is Yuan Bufan. Countless disciples of Changxian sect looked at Yuan Bufan, who looked like a killing god in the field. Their hearts were shattered with fear, and their fighting spirit gradually disappeared. Their senior brother Gu Xinghun was not here, and it was only a matter of time before they died. Why hasn't senior brother appeared yet? The delicate woman who grabbed Gu Xinghun's ankle on the ship before was a young lady from a noble family, with some inherent strength. Now, she has shown extraordinary strength on the battlefield, able to kill a disciple of the Yuan fire sect with every few moves. But she is also almost exhausted, hoping that Gu Xinghun can quickly appear and turn the tide. Pong, dang, dang. The sound of the intersection of military campaigns continues, becoming increasingly intense. The disciples of Changxian sect also died one after another in the midst of the sound of the war. Their desperate eyes seemed to express doubts. I have already joined the immortal sect and am destined to reach the pinnacle of life. Why died on the first day of joining the sect? Why? Hate senior brother. Perhaps I would hate it. If my senior brother were here, I might not have died. Ha ha ha. Watching hundreds of Changxian's sect die and only a few dozen of his own disciples die, Yuan Bufan burst into laughter and then looked around the battlefield, instantly noticing the delicate woman with superb swordsmanship. He rushed forward and prepared to get to know her. If Gu Xinghun is not here and so many of his own disciples are still dead, how can Yuan Bufan continue to behave? Shua. Yuan Bufan's burly body shuttled through the battlefield like a strong wind. Upon hearing this commotion, the delicate woman suddenly turned back, her beautiful eyes reflecting a burly man wielding a sword and coming towards her. The fierce wind howled, making it impossible for her to open her eyes. The immortal path is more difficult than reaching the blue sky. At this moment, she finally understood the meaning of what the presiding elder had said. When the strong wind slapped her face, she couldn't open her eyes and had already accepted the ending of her impending death. Shit! A strange noise rang out, and the delicate woman thought she had been beheaded. 1 breath. 2 breaths. No pain is transmitted. The delicate woman opened her eyes in panic and saw a handsome red figure blocking her in front. And the burly man had already fallen to the ground not far away, with a steel knife inserted in his belly. The figure in red is naturally Gu Xinghun. At the moment when Gu Xinghun revealed his vulnerability in Yuan Bufan, he quickly charged and kicked a steel knife from the ground, shooting it towards Yuan Bufan's abdomen. You should know that although the 5th layer of Qi refining can release some good spells and spiritual element attachments, it is ultimately a mortal body. If you get stabbed, you'll die. The occurrence of this incident directly shocked everyone present. Who would have thought that a Yuan Bufan with 5 levels of gas refining would be stabbed with a flying steel knife, causing a chilling sensation? The disciples of Yuanhua sect all stopped their hands, and the disciples of Changxian's sect were also stunned for a moment. However, when they found out that the attacker was Senior Gu, their anger erupted in their hearts and they crazily fought back. Kill me. I want you to die. I want to pull out your bones. Your senior brother Yuan has all collapsed, I see what you should do. Go ahead. Revenge those deceased martial brothers. I can't believe it, jie. A disciple of Changxian's sect stabbed his sword into the body of a disciple of Yuanhua sect, laughing uncontrollably. Chapter 8. Mutations. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Xinghun coldly stepped forward and slammed his foot on Yuan Bufan's neck, pulling out the steel knife from his abdomen. He raised the corner of his mouth and said, Brother Bufan, Gu will personally escort you on the road. Ah! The sword slashed horizontally, and Yuan Bufan's head fell directly to the ground, causing blood to soar 3 meters high. The qi and blood of a strong qi refining person are extraordinary. Gu Xinghun didn't even take a second glance and turned to look at the disciples of the Yuan fire sect in the field. In an instant, he locked in several highly skilled martial artists and killed them. In his original form, the extraordinary head of Tu Luyuan stumbled and rolled on the ground until it collided with a wooden plant before stopping. His lifeless pupils still reflected the killing figure of Gu Xinghun. Ha ha ha. Gu Xing's soul in the field became more and more excited as he killed. His face was already splattered with blood, and the sword in his hand was always wielded with the heads of several disciples of the fire sect flying up, spewing blood. The ground is covered in Changhong's blood-stained clothes, and the hair dyed remains sway the heart. This god-slaying image is constantly destroying the hearts of everyone in the Yuan fire sect. As the killing intensified and blood covered the wooden ground, some people finally couldn't hold on anymore. They knelt down and begged for mercy. Let us go, it's all Yuan Bufan's ideas, and we don't want to either. Yeah. Please, let us go, we'll go back and give you the longevity card. However, what responded to them was a heartless steel knife. Pada. As his head fell to the ground, Gu Xinghun's face stained with blood became even more insane. No one left. This sentence comes out. The disciples of Changxian's sect, as if they had been beaten with chicken blood, shouted with red eyes. Kill. Follow the senior brother to kill together. Kill all these people. Don't let any of them go. Kill me. Martial brothers who lack strength, please repair the sword in the back. 10 minutes later, limbs and arms were scattered all over the wooden ground, corpses were scattered everywhere, and a sea of blood was raging. All disciples of the Yuan fire sect were killed. The real one doesn't stay. The originally dark and yellow deadwood area was dyed crimson with blood, and even the air was filled with a strange red mist that filled everyone's nostrils. Some disciples sat directly on the crimson wooden ground and started crying, while others were still immersed in the slaughter and excited, laughing uncontrollably. Some disciples looked bewildered and grateful. They recalled their enthusiasm when they first saw another sect spaceship on the ship, and couldn't help but feel sad. It turned out that the cultivation world was not so kind, everything was so cruel. This is a great class. It is also an extremely expensive lesson, and many people have sacrificed their lives for it. Puff. While everyone was still calming down, Gu Xinghun suddenly spewed out a mouthful of blood. He had consumed a lot of spiritual power in his previous battle with Xiao, and just now his heart was filled with killing intent. He had consumed a lot of spiritual power again, and his body was almost unable to support it. Senior brother. Senior brother, what's wrong with you? The new people raised Gu Xinghun with concern and started chattering. Although they have harbored hatred toward senior brother for not appearing earlier, they also understand that if it weren't for senior brother, they would have died long ago. But just now, senior brother was still invincible, why did he suddenly vomit blood? They couldn't figure it out how. Sigh. Gu Xinghun looked at the puzzled expressions of the crowd and sighed, explaining, as the senior brother, I went to the Wulang Fire Sea to check if Xiao was in danger, but I didn't expect this person to carry an evil object and sneak attack on me, causing me to suffer serious injuries. Otherwise, I wouldn't have discovered so late that you were slaughtered by the Yuan fire sect. I hate it. It's because I didn't protect those deceased junior brothers well. Speaking of the emotional aspect, tears flashed through my eyes. Anyway, since Xiao is not here now, why don't we just say that? And there is also the identity of senior brother, full of credibility. Senior brother, don't blame yourself anymore. It's not your fault. It's all because of Xiao, he's just not human. Thief, that Xiao is in vain for being a human. That Xiao is just a scumbag. Did he know that he carried the lives of countless junior brothers on his body? When I first started, I knew that Xiao was not a good person. Sure enough. The disciples cursed fiercely, while some newcomers slapped themselves twice and cursed. I'm not such a person. I even hated senior brother for not appearing earlier in my heart just now. Seeing that everyone had already believed it, Gu Xinghun stopped talking and instructed the others, stay away from here for now. We need to find a remote place to rest and recuperate. Later, with the help of several beautiful female disciples, he walked towards the distance with all the disciples. The cold wind is howling. I don't know where the wind comes from in this big wooden area. The group of people walking on the road are like a group of ants in the desert. At this moment, a disciple named Hefeng came to Gu Xinghun and bent down to report, Senior brother, there seems to be a towering tree ahead. Do you want to go over? Gu Xinghun looked at the virtual shadow of the big tree 1 mile away, pondered for a moment, and said, take a few people over to check it out first. Yes. Hefeng has a happy smile on his face and can leave an impression on his senior brother. He will definitely feel comfortable outside in the future. Watching the figures of several disciples disappear, Gu Xinghun closed his eyes and began to examine his injuries. At present, all the disciples are surrounding him, and if there is any danger, you can detect it as soon as possible. What is this? When Gu Xinghun was examining his injuries, he discovered something unusual about the Wanshenge. The brightness of the first grid of Zhang Wulang has reached 99%, and it is still flashing with a strange red light. The chains wrapped around the divine grid like an abyss have already broken. He had a feeling that although he couldn't obtain all of Zhang Wulang's power at this moment, he could already extract some of it. This power is so evil. It's so strong. We need to quickly find a hidden place to extract this power. Opening his eyes, Gu Xinghun stood up and anxiously waited for the disciples who went to check. 10 minutes later, I finally saw the figures of those few people returning. Gu Xinghun approached one of his disciples and asked, "Hufeng, what's going on ahead?" Hufeng replied with a wooden tone, "Senior brother, it's very safe ahead. Let's go over." The tone is like that of a wooden person, but there is also no lack of emotion, as if anxiously Gu Xinghun has passed away. "Are you worried that I might be injured?" Gu Xinghun squinted his eyes and looked at Hufeng in front of him. He noticed that there was no abnormality on the other person and immediately ordered everyone to go, while he walked at the end, supported by several female disciples. On the way, many disciples always turn around to look at Gu Xinghun from time to time. This is a completely unfamiliar place, and the leader's senior brother has suffered serious injuries, making them feel very insecure. Gu Xinghun smiled and signaled to him one by one, saying that he must not lose his heart, even if it is spiritual support. Once he falls off the chain, everyone will be like a group of lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The wind is still blowing. As the crowd approached the big tree, several meters of leaves occasionally drifted from the air, casting their shadows on the dim wooden ground, like huge nets covering the crowd. "Stop!" Gu Xinghun stopped the crowd and walked up to Hifeng, asking, "Have you ever checked these leaves?" "We have checked and it is safe nearby." Not only did Hifeng answer this time, but the other disciples who were exploring the way also spoke in unison. Gu Xinghun squinted his eyes. He had already noticed that something was wrong with this group of people. So he asked, "Hufeng, based on this leaf, do you think this tree has any signs of life?" "Senior brother, this tree should be." A disciple next to him who had not participated in the investigation wanted to show off, but before he could finish speaking, Gu Xinghun interrupted him, "Shut up, I didn't ask you to speak." "Ah. Good senior brother." The disciple blushed and responded, then retreated into the crowd, feeling a bit embarrassed. Gu Xinghun turned his head and looked at Hufeng again, saying solemnly, "Say, is there any sign of life on this tree? The leaves at present are obviously moist. If you dare to answer that there are no signs of life, it is deception. If there is, then how can you prove that this place is safe? How can a living tree be carefree?" And they also guarantee in unison. His heart can be executed. Looking at the master brother's extremely serious expression, many people had already noticed something unusual and quickly left Hufeng and the other disciples who were exploring the way. "Senior brother, actually." Halfway through, Hufeng suddenly covered his head and screamed in extreme pain, "Ah, ah, so painful, so painful." Chapter 9. Extract part of Zhang Wulang's power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing this scene, Gu Xinghun instantly snatched the sword of a nearby disciple and shouted, "Take control of all these people." Upon hearing the instructions of the senior brother, the disciples immediately began to explore on their bodies. Some pulled out ropes, while others untied their belts, preparing to tie up the few unruly exploration disciples. Suddenly, a piercing sound sounded. The disciples were so frightened that they retreated in panic. With a calm gaze, they all exclaimed in surprise, "Senior brother, be careful. Who is Gu Xinghun? He needs someone to remind him." His gaze never moved away from those Pathfinder disciples. At the first moment when Hufeng, kneeling on the ground and howling, shot a wooden tang from his mouth, he suddenly took 3 steps back, then forced his luck and threw his long sword vigorously. shoo, shoo, shoo. His sword pierced through the wooden tang. The stretching momentum directly pierced through the abdomen of Hufeng, nailing it to the ground. But even though he was nailed by the sword, Hufeng's hands still spread their teeth and claws, and the flesh and blood on his face wriggled wildly. Suddenly, the sound of "pwai pwai" rang out. Sharp branches pierced out from Hufeng's face one by one, and his eyeballs were pushed out, leaving behind a trail of fluid, especially terrifying. The mutation ended, and Hufeng struggled increasingly crazily, like an unconscious thorny-faced demon. Ah! Hufeng has become a monster. A few disciples were so scared that they threw out the ropes in their hands and ran around aimlessly, occasionally looking back while running. There are also some disciples who are brave and strategic, and remain calm in the face of danger. They pull the other few unruly disciples away from Hufeng and then tie them up. Not all of them are fools. Gu Xinghun looked admiringly at the few disciples who were calm in danger, then used his spiritual power and shouted to the group of fleeing people, "Who let you run around? Get back. This secret realm is very large, even if he has been here before, he cannot understand everything. The big tree right now is, not to mention other places. If it provokes any strange things, it will be even more troublesome. Ah, it hurts. Ah, I'm dying." At this moment, the other bound disciples also began to mourn. This incident instantly made the scene extremely chaotic, as the disciples squeezed and retreated in the crowd, their frightened eyes fixed on the group of mutating disciples. Ah! What is he eating? He's eating leaves, he's eating leaves. Oh my God, are they possessed by demons? The disciples were so scared that their tongues were tangled because they saw one of the mutated disciples rolling on the ground and touching a leaf, and they actually started gnawing on it. At this point, after enjoying the deliciousness of the leaves, the mutated disciple muttered, "Ah! So comfortable, so comfortable." Gu Xinghun frowned as he watched everything. According to his observation, after eating the leaves, the disciple's body began to exude a strong power. If it weren't for prevention, disaster would have arisen. Gu Xinghun didn't have time to think much, ran up to the person, and then took a steel knife into his hand in the air and fiercely chopped it down. Pwai, the knife light flashed, and the head fell to the ground. Its blood splattered directly onto a group of nearby disciples. Ah! They screamed in terror, their legs trembling, and they never imagined that their senior brother would just cut them off without saying a word. Immediately afterwards, they were shocked again, as they saw their senior brother walking towards Hifeng and the others again, shwa shwa shwa. The knife light flashed by, leaving only one survivor in the end. "Watch him, don't get too close." After Gu Xinghun finished speaking, he turned around and stared at the trembling crowd, saying, "For your safety, this is the only way to do it." The disciples under gaze nodded obediently as if a little chicken pecked at the rice. Da. Gu Xinghun turned his back from the crowd and took a few steps forward. He looked at the big tree 200 meters away and thought to himself. Xiao's whereabouts are unknown now, and now this strange big tree has appeared again. Passive. Too passive. Rather than seeking hidden places to gain power, it's better to avoid others on your own. But now that I am injured, if I act alone, the consequences of encountering danger would be unimaginable. We must find someone who can protect us for a moment. Thinking of this, Gu Xinghun turned around and his gaze began to sweep through the crowd, trying to find an honest disciple with well-developed limbs and a simple mind. Watch and see. He discovered the delicate woman stained with blood in the crowd. I have saved this person's life and can make some use of it. Gu Xinghun extended his finger and pointed at the woman, saying, "You, come here." Me. The delicate woman pointed to herself with some confusion. Gu Xinghun nodded and waved. After knowing that she was calling herself, the delicate woman ran over to Gu Xinghun and said at a loss, "Senior brother, you came to me for." Number 34, I saw before that you killed many disciples of the Yuan fire sect. Have you had any cultivation experience? Gu Xinghun asked coldly. The delicate woman didn't know why her senior brother asked this question, but she answered honestly, I have learned a low-level qi refining technique in my family. Probably with the ability to refine gas. As she spoke, she nervously extended a finger to signal. Layer 1. Fingers slightly curved, obviously unsure if they have truly reached a certain level. You come with me. After Gu Xinghun finished speaking, he instructed his disciples to wait in place and then left with the delicate woman. The two of them arrived at a distance of 300 meters from the crowd, and Gu Xinghun said to the delicate woman. Don't move here. If there's any movement, just call me out, but don't come looking for me, understand? The delicate woman nodded in confusion. Seeing that the other person understood, Gu Xinghun walked forward again until he found a shelter, and then began to sit cross-legged, feeling the 10,000 divine gods. At this moment, Zhang Wulang in the pantheon has come to life, his robe fluttering, as if he has come to life. The demonic red energy circulating on his body is even more demonic and powerful. Gu Xinghun attempts to use his divine sense to contact Zhang Wulang. Sure enough. In an instant, a powerful force entered his body like a sudden enlightenment. Pain. It hurts too much. Gu Xinghun gritted his teeth and tried hard not to make a sound. After all, the 10,000 divine gods is his greatest secret, and no one can know it. As the waves of power entered his body one after another, he felt his strength growing wildly. In the early stage of qi refining, in the middle stage of qi refining, in the 7th stage it didn't stop until the peak of the 8th level of gas refining. This is a realm that is enough to enter the inner gate, a realm that can instantly cast small spells. Hiss, ha. Gu Xinghun gasped for breath, excitedly feeling the immense power in his body. He just wanted to shout wildly, what is the son of qi luck? I have a cheat. Not to mention that this acquisition is only half of Zhang Wulang's power. If it were perfect awakening Zhang Wulang, I can't believe how strong he is. Building foundations. Or is it the pinnacle of building foundations? Ha ha ha. Gu Xinghun laughed wildly, and now he has come to the conclusion that once the progress of the 10,000 divine elements reaches 99%, he can obtain half of the power of the divine strength. As for obtaining full power through perfect lighting, it may require certain harsh conditions to activate. Temporarily unknown. I don't know if perfectly lighting up Zhang Wulang will give him his roots. Gu Xinghun muttered to himself. Thinking about Zhang Wulang, who can force Yuan Tiangang to insert needles and stimulate his potential to cope at a young age, one can imagine how strong Zhang Wulang's talent is. If placed in the fantasy world, one is definitely a strong and dominant force. Its root bone is more likely to be a super strong high-quality root bone. Ah! Help! Suddenly, several extremely high screams were heard. Gu Xinghun quickly got up to look and found that the voice came from the newcomer's side. He immediately stopped hesitating and called on the delicate woman to rush back. Senior brother, wait for me. The delicate woman following behind noticed that her senior brother's speed was incredibly fast, and she didn't seem to be someone from the 5th level of qi refining. She could only speak up to remind her. Gu Xinghun turned around and picked her up, ignoring her blushing face and ears, and flew back as if flying at present. There are only over 2,000 disciples left. If he dies, his mission will not meet the standards, and the result will be punished. Chapter 10. The Fall of Geocentritis. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. As the distance gets closer, Gu Xinghun saw that the screams were not coming from his own disciples, but from the mouths of a group of cultivators swarming behind the big tree, and their faces all showed signs of fear. Roaming and rumbling. The wooden ground was trembling, as if some monster was chasing this group of people, and the situation was becoming increasingly severe. All disciples, step back. Gu Xinghun came to the disciples and gave an urgent order. Then he turned his head and shouted to the group of people who had escaped, "Run to the other side, otherwise don't blame me for being ruthless." After speaking, he attached his spiritual power to the steel knife and directly struck it with one blow. A crescent-shaped arc cut through the long sky and landed near the fleeing crowd. Bang 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 bang. The wooden ground exploded into a deep pit, splashing countless debris. Gu Xinghun's purpose this time is naturally to deter those who run away recklessly, so as not to bring any danger and affect his own disciples. Currently, there are only a few over 2,000 disciples left in his own family, and he must not die again. However, his knife not only failed to deter the fleeing group, but also attracted more and more people to run over. The bald man leading the way shouted, "Your Excellency, help me. I know there is a place in the secret realm where there is a terrifying treasure hidden." He saw the sword of Gu Xinghun and already saw hope for life. And he knew in his heart that this was definitely not the pinnacle of the 5th level of qi refining. The young man in red robes in front of him had definitely broken through to the 6th level of qi refining in the secret realm. Shocking treasure. Gu Xinghun was inexplicably moved and immediately turned to point at the delicate woman, instructing, "You take your disciples and quickly retreat. Don't take half a step forward without my command." After speaking, he walked leisurely. "Although I really want to know what treasure it is, it's impossible to be reckless enough to rush over quickly. Everything must be based on my own safety." The bald leader saw that Gu Xinghun had the intention to save him, and his speed immediately increased as he ran and shouted, "Friend, save me, save me. Someone in the secret realm is setting up a special fire. Is it a hot topic among people?" Gu Xinghun squinted his eyes and felt a slight surprise in his heart. But his pace did not accelerate, he still walked slowly, his attention at this moment was all on danger. As we got closer, we finally saw what monster was chasing these people. Two lifeless eyes as big as lanterns became clearer and clearer in the dimness, followed by a big spider covered in red hair suddenly appearing. 8 legs, each with dense spikes and pointed hair on top, and even hundreds of meters apart, one can smell that demonic aura. Every time it catches a fallen cultivator, it will extend a foot, insert it into the person's body, and then ingest it into a corpse. Terrifying. Terrifying. Hiss. The 8-legged spider absorbed all its blood, roared with excitement, and its eyes became even more eerie, like a bloodthirsty spider from hell. No. This thing is not even one. It's many, countless, it's just a pile of dust. Gu Xinghun saw more and more bloodthirsty magic spiders emerging, and a pair of terrifying white silent spider eyes flickered in the dim distance, scared to the point of turning and running away. But at that moment, the towering tree moved. Gaga gaga. The big tree made an astonishing sound, and the continuous branches began to move, as if disturbed by these people and spiders, appearing extremely angry. Pop. Its branches suddenly stretched out, straight, and then danced, sweeping across all the creatures on the ground. Countless nearby spiders and humans were sucked apart, splattering ground with minced meat. And the explosive spider, with its body exploding and countless blood splattering open, obviously had eaten many people before. Help me. Senior. The 8th-ranked Earth Heart Flame is in this secret realm. The bald leader was so frightened by the sudden change that his pupils trembled and he shouted out the name of the treasure. Its voice breaks through the sky, attempting to awaken the greed in Gu Xinghun's heart. Geocentric inflammation. At this moment, Gu Xinghun admitted that he was a bit moved. Yihua is a treasure that cultivators dream of. Once refined, not only can it achieve twice the result with half the effort, but it can also attach to spiritual energy, increasing its power. But there are too many magic spiders at present. Although they cannot perceive their strength, their body size is no less than the strength of the third layer of chi refining. Coupled with this terrifying tree demon, it's simply, what should we do now? If this person were to die, the whereabouts of Geocentritis would probably sink to the sea with him. Gu Xinghun gritted his teeth and activated his spiritual power to his feet, rushing away. Shwa. Looking at the red figure rushing towards him, the bald man's eyes flickered with tears. This was simply his most beloved figure of his life. If it weren't for the critical situation where kneeling was not allowed, he would really want to kneel for Gu Xinghun. Shwa shwa shwa, Gu Xinghun's running speed is neither fast nor slow, because he not only needs to pay attention to the movement of the big tree, but also needs to pay attention to the magic spider. At least when something is wrong, he can have enough strength to turn around and run away. The distance is constantly shortening, and the smell of blood drifting in the field is getting heavier, as if pouring a bucket of fresh blood into a trash can, with a foul and sweet smell. Boom boom boom. At this moment, a terrifying sound came from afar. Gu Xinghun squinted his eyes, and behind the group of people fleeing, in a blurry and drifting yellow and dark place of white mist, slowly emerged a super big magic spider that was as high as 4 meters and as long as 15 meters. Hiss. The demonic spider's silent gaze swept across the entire scene, then noticed the tree demon. It opened its 2-3-meter-long crescent teeth and kept roaring at the big tree, its voice obscure and indescribable. Scream! Scream! The big tree heard the sound of the magic spider, and its branches began to twist and sway non-stop. What kind of communication is this? Gu Xinghun looked at everything in front of him with fear, but after only a few breaths, he realized that it was not time to think at this moment. He took advantage of the confrontation between the two monster beasts and immediately ran towards the bald man, picked him up, and then turned around to run. But at this moment, Pong! The tree demon seemed to be angered by the magic spider, and countless tree roots were pulled out directly from below. Boom boom boom. The entire wooden field nearby was lifted up by the roots of a terrifying tree demon with a height of up to kilometers and a diameter of 5 meters. Gu Xinghun was about to run, but it was too late. The wooden ground within a radius of 1 mile under my feet was shattered inch by inch, with shattered wood flying horizontally. The terrifying force lifted everyone into the air. Ah! Help! At this moment, Gu Xinghun, who was also lifted up in the air, heard a sound in his ear. He only heard the bald man pulled by him, shouting out, "The strange fire is right below." Upon hearing this, Gu Xinghun didn't pay attention, because when he was lifted into the air, his residual light swept across the strange appearance of the tree demon. At the moment when the tree demon stood up, countless flames spread from its roots, and the branches were burning fiercely. Countless flames illuminated the body, and a burning sensation instantly engulfed the whole body, making people feel slightly hot. But this fire is not fire, although it gives people a burning feeling, it will not burn any objects. Not only is the tree demon not anxious, but there is also no sign of wood chips being touched nearby igniting. This tree demon not only has the ability to alienate cultivators, but also has the ability to ignite fire. And what the bald man said about the strange fire is right below, isn't it that the tree demon has been absorbing the power of geocentric inflammation? Without time to think, a sense of falling had already arrived. Gu Xinghun moved his body slightly in the air and threw the bald man under him. Even if you fall later, you can still have a cushioning effect.